Hi, Eric Wilson here, independent licensed mechanic, 30 years of experience. In the next 6 to 7 minutes, I'm going to show you the inside story on this 2017 Ford Escape. Coming in on the front left tire, you got about 50% tread on all season radios, down but definitely not out. Now, coming behind the front left tire, first thing I want to point out is there we go. Okay, this is the lower ball joint, pardon me. This is the lower ball joint on the left, and it is tight, very critical because it holds the wheel to the steering. This rubber boot right here is full of grease. This is the outer CB boot, and it's full of grease, and if it's ripped, you see grease all over the place. Important not to be, because it lubricates the axle, keeps you going forward. This right here is your left sway bar link connected from there up to there. A little hard to see, but important to be connected, because what that does, it controls the sway when it goes around the corner, and that is connected and doing its job. This is right here. That's your outer tie rod, left outer tie rod. That's the most critical thing in the whole car. It's the only thing that holds the wheel to the steering, and it is tight. So brakes, you've got about, let me see here. You got about 20,000 K. You have about 20,000 K left on your brakes, so down but definitely not out. So brake-wise, suspension-wise, and leak-wise, I don't see anything of issue on the front left side. Now, this is the front left strut. Now, these struts are full of oil, and they're full of oil, and if it was leaking, you see it leaking all the way down here. Now, the surface rust is not an issue, but if there was oil, that would be an issue. So there's no issues with that leaking, and that's important. Your spring suspension is intact and doing its job, so that's intact on the front left side. Now, just showing at the bottom of the transmission here, this is all a leak point here. If it was going to leak, you'd see it all along in there. That is good and dry. And the bottom of the oil pan right here, this is good and dry. So I am not seeing any indication of leaks here at all. Very clean, actually. Okay, coming into the front right tire, again about 50% tread on all season radios, so down but definitely not out. Coming behind the front right tire, I want to point out this is the lower right ball joint, and it is tight, critical, holds the wheel to the chassis. That's your outer CV boot, good and dry, about 20,000 K on your front brakes. You see the outer tie rod there? That is tight. That's critical. It's the only thing that holds the wheel to the steering. So brake-wise, leak-wise, suspension-wise, so far on the right, I'm not seeing anything of any concern. Now, this is the front right strut. Again, same thing, full of oil, and the surface rust is not an issue. Everything's going to have surface rust, but the important thing is not leaking, and your front strut is intact. So no issues suspension-wise on the front right. Now, this is the right rear shock, and same thing. If it was leaking, like this thing is full of oil, if it was leaking, you see it dripping all the way down here. That is good and dry, so no leakage on your front, on your rear shocks. If we had about, same thing, about 20,000 K on your rear brakes, you're about 50% tread on all season radios, and this is your spring suspension. Your sway bar connector at the rear right, connected from here to here, intact, doing its job. The a little harder to see there, but the outer CV boot there, good and dry. Your spring suspension intact, doing its job. Yeah, I don't see any issues brake-wise, leak-wise, or suspension-wise on the rear right. Okay, on the rear left, same thing, 50% tread, all season radios. Your rear left spring, your rear left sway bar length connected from here to here, intact. Your rear left spring suspension, no cracks, no breaks. Your rear left shock, you follow it up, good and dry. Your rear outer CB boot, good and dry. So brake-wise, leak-wise, suspension-wise, I don't see anything issue on the rear. Only 168 K. 782, no cracks in your windshield. AC is, oh yay, blowing nice and cold. No check engine lights that I can see. That's the parking brake on because I put it on. Now I'm going to take you out and show you the condition of the motor so you can see, make yourself an informed decision. Okay, with the motor running. shot of the exhaust with the motor running. Very clean, no smoke. Now, one thing I always do is I take off the oil cap, see, and I look underneath for any kind of indication of white goo, which would be a mixture of oil and antifreeze, which would be a big problem. Now, I don't see any indication here, and I don't hear anything of any concern on this motor as well. So, all in all, I don't see anything of any concern in this car. Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's been well maintained, and hopefully this will help you make an informed decision. Anyway, thank Eric Wilson. Have a good one.